My name is Finn and I'm 59 years old. Life has taught me many lessons, some hard, some beautiful, but nothing prepared me for that night. I never imagined a family dinner could turn into a battlefield, leaving my heart bruised and my soul questioning everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. The day started peacefully. I spent the morning in my garden, my little sanctuary. My fingers, weathered by decades of work and life, dug gently into the soil. I checked on my roses, the deep crimson ones I had planted after my wife passed, and smiled as a few petals trembled in the cold February wind. Gardening had become more than a hobby. It was my therapy, a way to feel life still thrumming through my veins. By early afternoon, I was expecting my son Mark and his wife Sarah. I had spent hours preparing their favorite dinner, roast chicken with a honey glaze, buttery mashed potatoes, and my secret recipe apple pie. The kitchen smelled like love, like home, and like memories of my late wife Margaret, who had taught me to cook, to laugh, and to cherish family. I poured myself a glass of red wine, a quiet ritual to celebrate small joys. But as soon as the doorbell rang, the familiar warmth of home evaporated. Mark stormed in, face tight with anger. Sarah followed, a smirk masking what I now know was resentment. Before I could greet them, Mark blurted out, "You're being selfish, Dad." I froze mid-step. The words felt like icy fingers around my heart. "Excuse me," I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. "You heard me," he said, his tone sharp, unyielding. "All this money you're spending on yourself, your hobbies, your garden, your quiet little life, what about us? What about your grandchildren? You think you can just live for yourself at your age?" I wanted to laugh, to cry, to scream all at once. I had spent decades raising him, supporting him, sacrificing my own wants to ensure his happiness. And now he accused me of selfishness. Before I could reply, Sarah grabbed the wine bottle I had poured and threw it across the room. The crimson liquid arced through the air and splattered across my chest, my shirt, and the cream-colored carpet. It stained the room like a permanent reminder of betrayal. I sat there, stunned. Shock and hurt paralyzed me. "Enough!" I shouted, my voice trembling but carrying a force I didn't know I still had. Mark stepped closer, his eyes ablaze. "We're just telling the truth, Dad. You've been selfish your whole life and now it's catching up with you." The word selfish echoed in my mind. I thought about all the sacrifices I had made, working 2 jobs to pay for his education, late nights nursing him through childhood fevers, missing my own father's funeral because I had to be there for him. And yet, here I was, accused of the very thing I had tried to avoid my entire life. I retreated to my study, my hands shaking, my chest tight. The scent of wine and roasted chicken lingered like a cruel reminder. I grabbed my phone and messaged my lawyer. "Need your advice, son and daughter-in-law assaulted me. What are my options?" Sending that message felt both relieving and terrifying. Could I really involve the law against my own child? Was I letting my anger cloud my judgment? For days, the house felt hollow. Calls went unanswered, texts ignored, and the silence screamed louder than any argument. I spent my nights writing in my journal, pouring out decades of memories, regrets, and fears. I remembered Margaret, my late wife, who had been the glue that held us together. She had always taught me patience, understanding, and forgiveness. I thought of her words as I stared at the ceiling, heart heavy. "Finn, anger can destroy bridges, but understanding builds them." Then my lawyer called, calm, professional, and clear. "Finn," he said, "I understand your anger, but ask yourself, are you seeking justice or reconciliation?" Justice, reconciliation. 2 paths stretched before me like diverging roads in a fog. I realized then that my son's anger, though misplaced, came from a place of hurt and fear. Perhaps he didn't see the sacrifices I had made, or perhaps he misunderstood my intentions. That evening I called Mark. My voice was quieter than usual, but firm. "Mark, can we talk, please? Not about blame, not about money, about us." There was a long pause. I thought he would hang up. Then he whispered, "I don't know, Dad. I don't know if I can forgive you." "I don't expect you to," I replied softly. "I just want to understand and be understood." The conversation was raw. Memories of childhood arguments, laughter, and loss came spilling out. We argued, cried, and sometimes stayed silent. But slowly walls began to crumble brick by brick until the fragile threads of understanding emerged. Weeks passed. Mark and Sarah returned one evening. There were no accusations, no flying wine bottles. We sat down to a meal together. We laughed awkwardly at old stories and remembered the joys we once shared. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't a clean slate, but it was a start. I never deleted the message to my lawyer, I never filed charges. I kept it as a reminder: boundaries matter, safety matters, and self-respect matters, but so does love. As I walked back to my garden that night, I felt the cold wind on my face. The roses swayed gently, resilient and beautiful despite the harsh winter. I realized life, like a garden, requires care, patience, and the courage to endure storms. Hearts break, relationships falter, but with empathy, dialogue, and forgiveness, growth is always possible. I am Finn, 59 years old, and I learned something invaluable. Family is imperfect, love is messy, and understanding requires humility. But those who are willing to walk through the storms of anger and hurt with patience can find their way back to one another. Moral: anger can destroy, but empathy and communication can heal. Family bonds are fragile, but patience, courage, and love can restore even the deepest fractures.